Welcome back to the Forensic Archive. Today, we decrypt Volume 6, The Biological Glitch. We have audited the terrain and the time, but now, we audit the observer. The data confirms that the human body is not a perfect machine. It is a biological circuit that can be shorted by the mountain's frequency. In this 30-minute mega audit, we investigate 4 coordinates where our senses, our maps, and our survival instincts didn't just fail, they were rewritten. Your field clearance is active. File Erasure 1, the sensory hook of Stacey Arras, where 10 witnesses had their visual data filtered into a blind spot. File Erasure 2, the cognitive anomaly of Garrett Bardsley, the 150-yard gap where a boy's internal map was hijacked. File Erasure 3, the thermal paradox of Hathaway, the 3-year-old who broke the laws of thermodynamics in a freezing swamp. And File Erasure 4, the tragic peak of Legg, the boy whose own survival algorithm became a lethal sprint. We are here to audit the glitch in our own biology. Confirm your enlistment in the archive now to secure authorization for Volume 7. The audit of the biological glitch begins. Now, stay safe, stay found. July 1981, Yosemite National Park, California. We are entering a coordinate where the human eye and the human brain became accomplices in a deletion. Stacey Arras, a 14-year-old girl, was at the Sunrise High Sierra camp with a group of 10 people, including her father. It was a stable, high-visibility afternoon. Stacey decided to walk to a nearby lake to take some photographs, a distance of less than 50 yards from where her father and several others were sitting. An elderly man in the group even followed her part of the way, stopping only when he felt tired, watching her continue for just a few more steps. The field logic. In a survival audit, 50 yards is not a distance. It is a visual tether. At this range, you can hear a person's breathing, see the color of their eyes. Yet, in the time it took for her father to look down at his gear and look back up, Stacey Arras had been filtered out of existence. There was no scream, no sound of a struggle, no crashing through the brush. Stacey Arras had entered a sensory hook, a point where the terrain's visual data became so stable that the human brain simply stopped recording her as a moving object. She didn't vanish into the woods. She vanished into the blind spot of the collective consciousness. We must perform a forensic audit of the human visual system. The brain does not process every piece of information it receives. It filters out background noise to save energy. The field logic. We analyze the principle of sensory deletion. When a subject moves at a specific frequency against a high-contrast background, like the granite and shadows of Yosemite, the brain's thalamus can mistakenly categorize the human form as part of the static terrain. To put this in field logic terms, imagine a noisy party where you are talking to a friend. Your brain deletes the background chatter so you can focus. But if the mountain's frequency matches the subject's movement, the brain deletes the person, believing they are just more background chatter. Stacey Arras was that chatter. Her father and the group were looking directly toward the lake, but their brains had already unrendered her from the frame. She was there, but she was no longer data to their eyes. The mountain didn't just hide her, it hacked the visual cortex of 10 witnesses, ensuring that no one saw the moment of her extraction. The search for Stacey Arras was one of the most intense in Yosemite's history. Over 150 searchers, elite dog units, and helicopters audited every square inch of the 50-yard radius. They found only one piece of evidence: Stacey's camera lens cap, lying on a flat rock near the lake. The field logic. We must audit the lens cap paradox. If a 14-year-old is being taken by a predator or an accident, they do not calmly place a lens cap on a rock. The presence of the cap suggests a moment of biological stasis, a point where Stacey stopped to take a photo, completely unaware that she was being deleted from the world. The dogs, trained to track intense fear pheromones, could not find a single trail. This confirms that there was no fight-or-flight response. Her biological system didn't even register the threat. Why? Because the biological glitch had already paralyzed her sensory input. She didn't drop her camera. She simply ceased to be the operator of it. The mountain took the man-made lens and left the plastic cap as a forensic marker of the exact coordinate where the glitch occurred. The disappearance of Stacey Arras remains a canary in the coal mine for our understanding of visual proximity. It shattered the illusion that being close means being safe. Her case forced a total reevaluation of observer reliability in national park disappearances. Today, her story is taught in advanced SAR training as the ultimate warning of sensory deletion, the idea that you can be 50 yards away and still be invisible to those who love you. Every safety protocol that tells parents to never take your eyes off the child is written in the silence Stacey left behind at that lake. She remains a permanent entry in our archive of the sensory hook, the girl who was deleted from the world while 10 people were looking right at her. Yosemite's granite does not offer apologies for the data it filters out. We have concluded the audit of the Arras file. The sensory hook remains a terrifying variable in our biological records, but the glitch is spreading to the deeper parts of the brain. Your authorization to access case number 2, Garrett Bardsley, the boy who vanished in a 150-yard gap while his amygdala was hijacked and his internal map evaporated, is now being processed. This next file will test your understanding of how the brain creates a sense of home. To maintain your field clearance and ensure you receive this next classified briefing for Volume 6, you must confirm your enlistment in the archive now. Hit the subscribe button to authorize your access to the truth that hides in your own mind. The mountain is monitoring your signals. Stay vigilant, stay safe, stay found. This has been a forensic audit by TheDarkestFilesTV. August 2004, the Uinta Mountains, Utah. We are entering a coordinate where the internal map of the human brain was not just lost, but completely erased. Garrett Bardsley, a 12-year-old Boy Scout, was on a fishing trip with his father at Cubrant Lake, an area characterized by its high altitude and dense, repetitive terrain. At approximately 8:00 a.m., Garrett's feet became wet. He made a tactical decision. He would walk back to the campsite just 150 yards away to change his socks and shoes. His father watched him walk for nearly half the distance, confirming his trajectory. This was a clear, line-of-sight path. The field logic. In a survival audit, 150 yards is less than a 2-minute walk. It is a distance where the human voice can still command the space. Yet, when Garrett's father returned to the camp 20 minutes later, he found the tents empty. Garrett Bardsley had vanished into a spatial fracture, a point where the 150-yard gap became an infinite void. He didn't take a wrong turn. He entered a coordinate where his brain's internal GPS was hijacked by the mountain's silence. We must perform a forensic audit of the biological navigation system. Human beings rely on the hippocampus to create cognitive maps of their environment. The field logic. We analyze the principle of amygdala hijacking. When a subject, especially a young one, experiences even a microsecond of disorientation in a repetitive environment like the Uintas, the brain's fear center, the amygdala, can take total control. This bypasses the logical prefrontal cortex. To put this in field logic terms, imagine your car's GPS losing its satellite lock. Instead of staying on the road, the car suddenly decides that north is now down and starts driving at full speed into a wall. Garrett was that car. Once he lost visual contact with his father for just a few seconds, his brain didn't just get confused. It rebooted into a state of blind, frantic movement. The mountain didn't just hide him, it triggered a biological glitch that turned his own survival instinct into a mechanism of self-deletion. The search for Garrett Bardsley was a logistical titan. Over 1,000 volunteers, elite mountaineering teams, and dozens of bloodhounds audited the rugged slopes. They battled sudden summer snowstorms that covered the tracks in a white shroud. For days, the data returned a value of absolute zero. Then, searchers found a single piece of evidence. One of Garrett's Nike shoes, located in a boulder field far from his intended path. The field logic. We audit the shoe anomaly. A 12-year-old does not voluntarily remove a shoe in the freezing snow unless they are experiencing cognitive decoupling. The dogs, trained to track the intense pheromones of fear, could not follow a trail beyond that boulder field. The signal was dead. We analyzed the search grid. Despite 1,000 people saturating the 150-yard radius, Garrett was never seen again. He wasn't lost on the mountain. He was archived in a coordinate where the mountain had already overwritten his biological frequency. The disappearance of Garrett Bardsley remains a canary in the coal mine for how we understand panic-driven movement in children. It forced a total reevaluation of the search radius models for young subjects in high anomaly zones. Today, his case is taught in SAR training as the ultimate warning of the cognitive anomaly. The idea that a child can travel miles in a state of amygdala hijack before their brain even realizes they are in danger. Every modern protocol that says look further and faster than you think is built on the 150-yard gap Garrett left behind. He remains a permanent entry in our archive of the internal map failure, the boy who was deleted because his brain's compass couldn't find its way back across a single football field. The mountains of Utah do not provide maps to those whose signals have been corrupted. We have concluded the audit of the Bardsley file. The cognitive anomaly remains a terrifying variable in our biological records, but the glitch is now affecting the body's very thermal regulation. Your authorization to access case number 03, Casey Hathaway, the 3-year-old boy who vanished in freezing temperatures and survived for days in a thermal paradox, claiming he was protected by a bear, is now being processed. This next file will challenge your understanding of biological limits. To maintain your field clearance and ensure you receive this next classified briefing for Volume 6, you must confirm your enlistment in the archive now. Hit the subscribe button to authorize your access to the truth that hides in our survival instincts. The mountain is auditing your pulse. Stay vigilant, stay safe, stay found. This has been a forensic audit by TheDarkestFilesTV. January 2019. Craven County, North Carolina. We are entering a coordinate where the laws of thermodynamics were suspended by a 3-year-old boy. Casey Hathaway was playing in his grandmother's backyard when he wandered into the dense, swampy woods. The conditions were a biological death sentence: freezing rain, temperatures dropping below 30 degrees Fahrenheit, and winds that could strip the heat from a grown man in hours. Casey was only 3 years old. He was wearing light clothing, not designed for a tactical survival scenario. The field logic. In a thermal audit, a small biological asset has a high surface area to volume ratio. This means a child loses core body heat significantly faster than an adult. According to every medical model, Casey Hathaway should have reached the absolute zero of biology within the first 12 hours. Yet, as the sun set on the second day of the search, the mountain hadn't claimed his heat. It was archiving it. We must perform a forensic audit of the human heat exchange system. When the environment is colder than the body, heat moves from high to low. This is the second law of thermodynamics. The field logic. We analyze the principle of the thermal paradox. For 2 nights, Casey was exposed to freezing rain, the most efficient conductor for heat loss. He was found on the 3rd day, tangled in a briar patch, soaked to the bone. But here is the glitch. His body temperature was remarkably stable. He showed no signs of severe frostbite or the catastrophic organ failure associated with prolonged exposure. To put this in field logic terms, imagine a small AA battery left in a deep freezer for 3 days. Logically, the battery should be dead, its chemical energy frozen. But when you take it out, it still shows a full charge. Casey was that battery. The environment should have drained him, but instead, it seems to have insulated his biological frequency. The mountain didn't just freeze him, it created a localized thermal envelope that allowed a 3-year-old to defy the very laws of physics. When Casey was rescued, he provided a piece of data that broke the search team's logic. He claimed he wasn't alone. He told his family and the authorities that a bear had stayed with him for the entire 2 days, keeping him warm and protected. The field logic. We audit the Ursine variable. While skeptics dismiss this as a child's hallucination triggered by trauma, we must look at the biological outcome. Something kept Casey's core temperature above the survival threshold. In the absolute zero of logic, we consider the biological glitch. Did the terrain provide a protector? Or did Casey's brain, sensing the end of its timeline, trigger a profound cognitive projection that actually altered his physiological response to the cold? We analyzed the briar patch where he was found. It was a coordinate that was physically impossible for a 3-year-old to enter without suffering massive lacerations. Yet, Casey was relatively unharmed. The bear wasn't just a story, it was a forensic marker of a glitch where the mountain decided to keep its asset viable. The survival of Casey Hathaway remains a canary in the coal mine for pediatric wilderness medicine. It forced a total reevaluation of survival windows for children in extreme weather. We now understand that the biological limit is not a fixed number, but a variable that can be influenced by the terrain's anomalies. Today, his case is taught in specialized SR training as the ultimate warning of thermal deviation, the idea that you never stop searching, even when the math says there is no hope. Every modern protocol that tells searchers to ignore the clock and keep the heat on is built on the 3 days Casey spent in the briars. He remains a permanent entry in our archive of the biological glitch, the boy who survived because the cold forgot how to freeze him. The swamps of North Carolina do not explain the bears they send, nor the lives they spare. We have concluded the audit of the Hathaway file. The thermal paradox remains a haunting deviation in our records, but the glitch is moving from survival to self-destruction. Your authorization to access case number 4, Douglas Legg, the young boy who vanished and whose survival instinct turned into a frantic 10-mile sprint into the heart of the mountains, is now being processed. This final file for Volume 6 is the most tragic audit of all. To maintain your field clearance and ensure you receive this final classified briefing, you must confirm your enlistment in the archive now. Hit the subscribe button to authorize your access to the ultimate termination point. The mountain is tracking your temperature. Stay vigilant. Stay safe. Stay found. This has been a forensic audit by The Darkest Files TV. July 1971. The Adirondack Mountains, New York. We are entering the final and most devastating coordinate of Volume 6, a point where the human survival instinct turned into a lethal predator. Douglas Legg, an 8-year-old boy familiar with the woods, was on vacation at his family's massive private estate. It was a 13,000-acre wilderness. While starting a hike, his uncle noticed Douglas was wearing shorts and, fearing poison ivy, told the boy to walk back to the cabin to change into long pants. The distance was exactly 80 yards, a mere 73 meters. It was a path Douglas had walked dozens of times. He turned around and began to jog back toward safety. But he never reached the door. The field logic. In a survival audit, 80 yards is a zero-risk zone. It is a distance where a child's laughter can still be heard by the group. Yet, in the span of less than 3 minutes, Douglas Legg was extracted from the familiar and thrust into a biological glitch that would rewrite his kinetic trajectory forever. He didn't just get lost, he was launched into a state of hyper-adrenalized flight. We must perform a forensic audit of the flight mechanism. When the human brain, especially one that is young and underdeveloped, is hit with a sudden, overwhelming surge of cortisol and adrenaline, it can enter a state of cognitive decoupling. The field logic. We analyze the principle of kinetic overload. In this state, the subject no longer thinks, they only move. They move away from the perceived source of fear at a speed that defies their physical limits. To put this in field logic terms, imagine a steam engine where the governor has been removed. The pressure builds until the pistons are moving so fast they tear the machine apart. Douglas was that engine. Something in those 80 yards, a shadow, a sound, or a sudden moment of silence, triggered a biological glitch that didn't just make him run, it made him sprint with the power of a marathon athlete. He wasn't running to something. He was running from a phantom threat created by his own hijacked amygdala. The search for Douglas Legg was one of the largest and most desperate in New York history. Over 1,000 personnel, including bloodhounds, elite military units, and specialized mountain teams, saturated the 13,000-acre estate. They expected to find an 8-year-old boy huddled under a tree within a mile of the cabin. but the audit of the immediate area returned a value of absolute 0. For weeks, the data remained empty. The mountain had apparently absorbed the child, but the glitch had a final, horrific reveal. Years later, remains were discovered in a coordinate that shattered every survival model, over 10 miles away, across multiple steep, rugged mountain ridges. The field logic. An 8-year-old child, under normal conditions, cannot navigate 10 miles of Adirondack brush and climb thousands of vertical feet in a single night. This confirms the tragic peak, a state where the biological machine operates at 100% capacity until total system failure. Douglas didn't stop because he was tired. He stopped because his heart and muscles could no longer sustain the kinetic loop the glitch had initiated. He ran until his biology hit the absolute 0. The death of Douglas Legg remains a canary in the coal mine for search and rescue psychology. It destroyed the statistically likely area models for missing children. It proved that a child in the grip of a biological glitch can outrun an adult, outclimb a professional, and vanish far beyond the reach of a standard search grid. Today, his case is taught in advanced SAR training as the ultimate warning of frantic fleeing behavior. The idea that the survival instinct is not always your friend. Every modern protocol that tells searchers to ignore the distance and check the ridges is built on the 10-mile sprint Douglas took in 1971. He remains a permanent entry in our archive of the tragic peak, the boy whose own heart became his executioner because it wouldn't let him stop running. The Adirondacks do not remember the paths that were run, only the silence that followed. We have concluded the audit of the Legg file. The biological glitch remains the most unstable variable in our records. Volume 6 is now sealed, but the archive is moving into a realm where the glitch is no longer just internal, but physical. Your authorization to access the upcoming Volume 7, The Uncanny Return, the investigation into those who were found but whose bodies and identities had been physically rewritten by the terrain, is now being processed. This is the final frontier of the absolute 0 of logic. To grant yourself field clearance for the next series of briefings, you must confirm your enlistment in the archive now. Hit the subscribe button to authorize your next briefing. The audit is reaching a critical mass. Stay vigilant, stay safe, stay found. This has been a forensic audit by TheDarkestFilesTV.
The audit of the biological glitch is complete. From the sensory deletion of Yosemite to the kinetic overload of the Adirondacks, the data is undeniable. Our biology is a variable that the terrain can manipulate. These 4 files are the canaries in the coal mine for human perception. Every modern search model and pediatric survival protocol we use today is built upon the biological debris of these anomalies. The mountain does not just take your life, it first takes your mind. In the absolute 0 of logic, we are only as safe as our senses allow us to be. Your investigation for Volume 6 is now sealed, but the archive is reaching its ultimate conclusion. Your authorization for Volume 7, The Uncanny Return, an investigation into those who were found but whose bodies and identities had been physically rewritten, is now pending. To grant yourself final clearance and unlock the final chapter of our audit, you must hit the subscribe button now. Authorization is only for those who seek the truth beyond the glitch. Stay vigilant, stay safe, stay found. This has been a forensic audit by TheDarkestFilesTV.